So the FOMC meeting is next week, and the Fed will decide, of course, whether they're going to cut the rate, hike, or keep rates unchanged. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think is going to happen. Do you think we're finally going to see that rate cut, or is it going to happen in September? I'm leaning towards September, but you never know what can happen. Do let me know in the comments down below as to what your personal thoughts are. But welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. To the XRP holders, appreciate all the love, the continued support. You guys are absolutely amazing. So as we are, of course, going into Friday morning, if you're paying attention to the hourly time frame for the crypto markets, you are starting to see the market going back into the green. XRP still down about 0.2%, but as far as the daily time frame goes, you can see majority of the market is still down right now. XRP's price $3.08, up 2.3% in Bitcoin. Comparative valuation $182.4 billion, and the 24-hour trading volume approaching at about $9 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer. Anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So, global M2 money supply hits a new all-time high. So, of course, a lot of people in the crypto space are excited about the M2 supply, reaching an all-time high because, of course, Bitcoin has been pretty much perfectly, positively correlated to this M2 money supply. You can see this for yourself. So is Bitcoin about to see that next wave really playing out? We'll see as time goes by. But of course, this is something that, obviously, we need to keep in mind and always fun to take a look at. But this video, guys, got me literally laughing. This is hilarious. I'm sure you guys watched this, how Trump visited the Federal Reserve, got the chance to meet Jerome Powell, and this was a complete joke of clip. But again, they're not joking, they're serious, but it seemed like it was a joke. And you could see, in this, the reporter asked Trump, so what could, Jerome Powell do to kind of get rid of, the criticism and all that stuff. And, he said, Jerome Powell could lower the interest rates, and kind of jokingly, laughed. And it's like, pretty much that's what I could say. And he just kind of shrugged it off, which is quite funny to me. But this took place. Do let me know your personal thoughts on that. But look, per Fidelity, 35 public companies now hold 1,000 plus Bitcoin, up from 24 in quarter one. Let that sink in. That's a big jump from quarter one of this year. We are sitting at 35 public companies that hold 1,000 plus Bitcoin. Corporate exposure nears 900,000 Bitcoin, and in the near future, you're going to see this become such norm, and more of these big corporations are going to be holding BTC. Bitcoin's already priced out, as I've stated to you guys before. Bitcoin is already priced out for retail, and it's for the bigger players to come in to really accumulate BTC at record levels. And the reason why we talk about this is because, of course, there's going to be other digital assets that are going to get this type of exposure. Corporations are going to be holding on to their balance sheets, and we're already starting to see that happening with XRP, something a lot of people overlook, a lot of people forget, but that's not something we want to be forgetting, of course. But look at this. ISO 20022 recognized coins will receive higher trading volumes than other cryptocurrencies, the true winners after the bubble burst. Cryptocurrencies accepted into the ISO payment systems will gain the ability to be utilized in the international transactions between financial institutions. So ISO recognized currencies, will achieve higher trading volumes, and a historical problem preventing cryptocurrencies from gaining widespread acceptance. Therefore, cryptocurrencies that participate in the ISO system will emerge from the cryptocurrencies bubble victorious. So again, I totally agree with that. And when you talk about that 4-year cycle, this is where that comes into play. Projects that have utility, that have a major use case, are the ones that are going to survive, and the ones that have that major institutional interest as well. So yeah, always, good to keep that factor in mind. But look at this, shout out to Stuart, it says 55% of non-crypto holders, listen to this very carefully, 55% of non-crypto holders say researching crypto feels overwhelming. Nat Crypto Association in America Confidence Pulse Q2 report found just how wide the education gap is. We're focused on clear, jargon-free resources to help everyday American understand crypto because education is key to responsible adoption. Read the full report. Very interesting. So pretty much, 1 in 5 American uses crypto, but 4 in 5 don't. We asked them, what's holding them back, and pretty much they're all saying that it is very hard to understand. So remember, this is going to be a huge shift, and Ripple is trying to do their part to educate Americans to really understand what crypto is all about. And remember, learning about crypto is very crucial. You're not just going to be blindly adding crypto into your portfolios. And as mass adoption occurs, as crypto goes mainstream, this would be very, very helpful. But it should also show you how many people don't understand this technology right now. This is insane to think about, and something we can kind of take away from this update. But look at this. Author says panic selling XRP may cost you a lot. Cites his 2 million missed gains with Bitcoin. So, a notable author has advised investors against selling their XRP in the latest dip, drawing from his experience with Bitcoin. Notably, XRP has run into the price trouble after finishing its strong 4-week rally of the year, pretty much referring to what happened yesterday. So in this pretty much article, I don't want to kind of bore you guys. This author is pretty much kind of going and talking about how they made a mistake and sold Bitcoin on a very early early level, and now they'll be sitting at about $2 million that they have missed, of course, now. So it kind of goes back to the basics, right? If you have done your due diligence research and have invested what you can afford to lose, and you are in it for the long haul, you believe in XRP, you understand that this is a long-term game for yourself, and you think XRP is going to thrive, it's going to have a huge part into play to take crypto to the masses, which I think is happening in my opinion. If that's the case, these types of dips are always going to occur. We need to keep in mind that these types of pullbacks are always going to occur. What we have seen over the course of the last 24 to 48 hours is nothing. I'm sure if you've been in this space for quite some time, you've seen much worse moves. So if I were you, especially if you're in it for the long haul, let's say you are in it for the next 5-10 years, and that is set in stone, you are pretty much not wanting to sell your XRP till then, because you want to obviously hold it for the long term. You want to see where XRP could go, and you obviously have high hopes for XRP to really gain major market share. And of course, with the institutional demand coming in, ETFs, and at that time maybe the entire landscape has shifted. So in that case, if you're in for the long haul, these types of moves that you do tend to see, obviously when manipulation occurs, remember the main focus for these market makers is to shake out the weak hands, and you don't want to be on that side. So of course, long term, of course, when you take a look at Bitcoin, a lot of people sold Bitcoin at a very early level, and now Bitcoin's sitting at $118,000. And of course, that's a big jump, and a lot of people probably have that feeling to kind of go back and not sell. But we can learn from these mistakes in the past. Obviously, only time is going to tell as to how far XRP grows and if it's going to continue to innovate to get to that level. Of course, it has been building over the course of the last decade plus, so it has that track record. But time is the important factor. So if you are in it for the long haul, you don't want to be selling your XRP. If you're obviously in it for the short term and you do want to lock in profits, then remember, stick with those exit strategies. Very, very simple, not rocket science. But now let's take a look at what's happening with the dominance. Dominance is continuing to pull down. Bitcoin is showing us some bearish price action. I know a lot of people are going to say crypto ZX, we're still in the 23.6. How is this bearish? I'm just joking, but Bitcoin does not have much support right now until 112,000. We are holding around the 115,500 key support line. If this does not hold, I've said this in my other updates, $112,000 Bitcoin is on the table, believe it or not. But even though Bitcoin has gone down a little bit, dominance is pulling down, which is holding the altcoin market better than expected. So that's something you want to kind of take away. But if you're looking at the price of XRP right now, still pretty much holding around the $3.10 range, holding quite nicely. So that is that. We still did not retest our yesterday's levels, which is quite interesting to see, even though Bitcoin has gone down, which is pretty much telling me that money from Bitcoin is flowing back into altcoins once again. Obviously, FOMC meeting coming up in a few days. We need to keep that factor in mind, but so far so good. XRP holding really nicely. We'll see you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.